Okay, Lexi, and here's the last one. This is coming from lesson 52, number 24. So we have here a parallelogram, DFGJ. We're told that DJ, so side DJ, this one right over here, is supposed to be greater than this one here, and even by eyesight, we can see that. And that's going to give us some information that we can use as well. So let's try to mark up what we can do here. What we want to prove is that GJF, which is right here, is greater than DJF. That's a J right here. DJF. DJF is right here. So we're trying to prove, I'm going to make a little note like this. We want to prove, you might want to write this too, that this angle, I'm going to use the symbol, is bigger than this angle. Okay, that's what we're trying to prove. That's what the proof statement says. We're going to prove that that angle is bigger than the other angle. So let's see what we can use here. Well, first of all, we know this is a parallelogram, which of course would mean that we have some parallel sides. I'm going to mark up these two here because I know we're going to be using those in just a little bit. But let's go ahead and fill in step number 1. What is given? What's given to us is that the parallelogram, DFGJ, and we'll go ahead and write the second part of it too, that DJ is greater than DF. Okay, now if DJ is bigger, and I'm going to write that right down here. This is the bigger side. I'm going to change colors here. This side is bigger than this side, the bigger side and the smaller side, according to what we just wrote there and given. And what do we know about that? We know wherever there's a bigger side, that its opposite angle is the bigger angle. And here's the smaller side. So the smaller angle is right there. So in the triangle on the left, the one that has all the green markings on it, the bigger angle is DFJ. The smaller angle is FJD. So we're going to write that in here. So the measure of DFJ is greater than DJF. Why? Because of unequal sides, then unequal angles. We've been talking quite a bit about that lately. Okay, so we also know, and I marked this earlier, and I said we're going to see this come up here in a little bit. Step 3 says that FD, side FD, is parallel to GJ. That's a mouthful. Okay, so those should be marked with your little parallel symbols over there. And what makes those parallel? Because this is a parallelogram, and we know that opposite sides in a parallelogram, they have 2 pairs of parallel lines. Definition of a parallelogram. Okay, now, because of those parallel lines, I want us to see this segment coming through here. I'm going to do it in yellow so it's not so busy. Is a transversal cutting through these parallel lines. And I'm going to extend these. And if you need to do it too to see it, extend this line and extend this line, extend this line, and extend this line. And if you want to extend your transversal line, you can do that too. Okay, now this is where it gets a little bit funny because I'm trying to prove, go back to what I wrote in red, I'm trying to prove that the angle on top is bigger than the angle on bottom. Well, the only place that I see that we've learned anything about angle sizes is where I wrote in green. I said that this is the smaller angle, right? This one here, let's do it in red. This is a smaller angle than the one at the opposite end of that. Then this one up here, I'll do it in green. That red one that I colored in is bigger than this one. I hope I said that right, because I'm thinking, did I say that right? The one I colored in red is smaller than the one I just colored in green. Okay, so I want you to see how we can use this transversal line to help us out. Because if I could say that this angle that I'm coloring in green down here is equal to this one, then that would prove that this one is bigger than the red one. So how can I do that? Let's look at that transversal line cutting through. You've got your parallel lines. And I'm going to actually extend these ones out too, because that you might be able to actually see it better this way. I'm not sure. So you have these parallel lines. But either way, you can see that those green angles are alternate interior angles, right? They're on the inside of these parallel lines. Or if I could turn it, see, I'm trying to think how I could turn this. I don't know if on my machine, if I can do this. Let me see, is there a rotation button? Used to be, somehow to rotate it. Yeah, I don't know if I can rotate it. Well, anyway, hopefully you can see that using, because the ones they wanted us to use were these right here that I'm marking up a little heavier. So there's the parallel lines and the transversal line cutting it. So if I could turn my figure to see that it's on the inside, I'm not really talking about this one. I'm talking about inside these parallel lines. Okay, so those alternate interior angles are inside the parallel lines and on the opposite side of the transversal line. This is where being together face-to-face could be a little more helpful. But anyway, let's go with what we have. This is the best we can do for right now. But anyway, so GJF, which is this green one. I'm going to put a big dot in it. This big green one is congruent to DFJ. So DFJ is here. Okay, and they are congruent. Why? Because if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then their alternate interior angles are congruent. So we'll just put alternate interior angles are congruent. And then number 5, the measure, this is what we were trying to prove, the measure of angle GJF is greater than DJF based on substitution. Because look, GJF is congruent to DFG, right? And if that's the case, then DG, it gets so confusing, DJF, which was this little red one, is the smaller angle. So because of the fact that we proved those alternate interior angles congruent, proves that the green angle is bigger than the red angle, and that's what we were trying to prove all along. Okay, so I hope that makes some sense. There towards the end, it got a little tricky to actually explain it on here, but I hope that it did okay, considering I changed colors for you and whatnot. If you have any questions on it, please feel free to let me know, Lexi. I'll go ahead and stop here. If you need anything else, please let me know. I didn't finish the review sheet with you, but I'm suspecting that you probably went ahead and took your test. So if you do need me to send those ones with the review sheet, please reach out to me by text, and I'll text that to you as well.